Look, I know the Ford to GM ratio around here, it's pretty well back 1-to-1, and that's too high of a Ford to GM ratio. We need to balance. You get what I'm saying. But anyway, welcome back to the Busted Grill Garage. This is our 73 F100 that we picked up last weekend. Now this truck actually, despite, it's a pretty cool truck, and it's got a little bit of history behind it. So I'm gonna get you guys in here and check this thing out. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Busted Grill Garage. We're currently trying to outrun a thunderstorm. Try to get this old Ford up here in the garage so we can get some brake work done on it, but yeah, out of gas naturally. Pretty sure that tire's flat. Who knows if it's gonna start past that, so we're just gonna see how this goes. Come on now. Now naturally, it's not just this tire. The one in the front is flat too. And I can feel sprinklage. Fixing to get it again. Come on now. Oh, you know it's good when you can hear it running right back out. Well, that was certainly an adventure. Thing, I don't think it knows which tank it wants to pull fuel out of, so that was a fun battle when it's, well, listen, except it was worse than this half an hour ago. I think my hat's finally starting to return to its normal shade of gray. But anyway, this is our 1973 Ford F100. It's not what I'm used to working on, I can tell you that much. And I think the Ford to GM ratio around this place is starting to favor Ford a little bit more than I would like for it to. But anyway, this truck, it's actually got a pretty interesting backstory. So I'm gonna give you guys a walk around of this thing and we'll get inside and look in the glove box. And we've got some pretty cool paperwork in there. So you guys can check out the outside of this truck here in just a minute. But right now, it's story time. So this truck actually has quite the story behind it, from what I understand. And let me just start with this. It's a California truck. This thing was built in San Jose, California, and it was sold new in, let me see here, San Bernardino, California at Ray Andrews Ford. So I've got the build sheet in my hand here, and this thing is actually very, very, very optioned. So as far as paint goes, we've got the Durango tan, which I assume is this, the brown color here, and then the yeller looking color we got up here is going to be Sequoia brown. No, Sequoia brown, Durango tan. That makes more sense, right? But this thing is a factory 390 truck, and it's got a 5,500 pound GVWR rating. It's got a knitted vinyl seat in it. California emissions, you know that. It's got an ammeter and an oil pressure gauge in it from the factory. Factory tinted glass. It's got the super cooling package. We've got the fancy, the full size, the 15-inch, wheel covers. And then we've got dual tanks. We've got super cool, which I already said. And then chrome rear bumper, convenience group, which whatever that means. Factory air. get that, factory air. And here in just a little bit, I don't know if it's going to be in the next couple of days, but here in just a little bit, we're going to make our best effort at getting that kosher, right? So this thing is pretty highly optioned. Now, I'm going to get you guys inside the cab, and we're going to go from there. We've got a little bit of work to do in there. We've got a little bit of work to do under the hood, and we've got a lot of work to do because it's been sitting for, you know, quite some time. But wait, there's more. I thought story time was over, didn't you? We're just getting started. Looks like got a registration receipt from Baldwin Park, California from August 31st of 1977. We've got our warranty facts from 1973. It's like maybe an old pay stub from the original owner. And according to this paperwork, I'm the third owner of this truck. We've got Sears Auto Cruise, which is still installed on the truck. We're going to see if we can get that to work here in the near future. Okay, so here is where we've got the transition from California to Missouri here. It looks like the original owner is the same name that's on the registration receipt from 1977. Moved up from California to Missouri because we've got a date here of 1991, and it's from here just real local to us, just a couple towns over. So it looks like the original owner moved from California to Missouri and then sold the truck to the gentleman that I bought it off of, or rather his father. So what do we have here? Hartley Muffler Shops. Glass pack, 2 tailpipes, $51. Don't you wish you could find that nowadays? What do we got here? Looks like another receipt from something or another been done to the truck. Okay, owner's manual for a floor jack. Amoco Motor Club. Ford Premium Motor Oil. Important message for you. Today's engines need Ford quality oil. This is pretty interesting. Looks like another insurance card. This one's from 1988. But check this out. Consumer information. I can't believe that all of this is still in the glove box of this truck. Owner's manual, factory owner's manual. And an important message to owners of 1973 Ford built vehicles. This is awesome. This thing tells a story, but right now the headlights don't work, taillights don't work. I've got bigger problems than a cool story. So I'm gonna jump into the cab here and we're gonna diagnose some headlight wiring and see if we can get some stuff swapped out and get some headlights working. So this truck actually has spent the last, I don't know, 30 years of its life at a house just right there across the dirt road from some property that we have. Just right across the dirt road from our farm. And I've seen this thing, it's been sitting in the same spot longer than I've been alive. So always kind of was intrigued by it. Never could work up the nerve to say anything about it. But this thing, while it's not perfect, it's pretty solid. And by not perfect, I mean, ignore that. Ignore that. And ignore all of this. But let's just jump right in. She's the Ranger model. You can tell because of the way it is. So hopping inside the cab here, we see another one of those options was a AM only radio, but factory air unit. We got our tank selector switch. Of course, we've got our headlights, which are actually on right now, even though they aren't on. But let's see. What are you guys seeing there? 90,000? Come down and take a look at the brake pedal. Not really wore out at all. I think, and I might be mistaken here, I believe this might be a 90,000 original mile truck. Now, when we drug this thing home, kind of got hasty and excited. We got a little antsy. I wanted to hear this thing run. I really did. And we were able to achieve that. The thing actually runs really, really well. So, to give you a quick update on that, this distributor, as far as I'm concerned, is on the wrong end. But kind of handy, not even gonna lie. forget pink and purple paste. You know those little mellow yellow daisies? They're in a pot of gold in a rainbow. Favorite color is definitely chrome. Besides that, it looks better sitting on the side of the road. It is a Ford after all. Cold case radiator. It was missing a radiator when we bought it. We bought a cold case, slapped in it. We swapped intakes. It was a factory 2-barrel truck. It's got a Holley 600 4-barrel on it now. And that's actually part of what we are going to be working on tonight is when you switch to a Holley on one of these, there's a few things you got to be concerned with and a few extra steps you got to take to make sure everything operates correctly. So we're going to take care of that tonight and make sure that's all good. But first, I've done a little bit of diagnosing already, and we've got a bad dimmer switch. And I'll show you guys here in a second, but I'll show you how I know it's a bad dimmer switch. This is how I know it's a bad dimmer switch. So I've done a little bit of diagnosis here, and I've come to the conclusion that, for one, there are way too many wires running to the dimmer switch to begin with that control way too many things. And two, well, I think that might be the issue, because that's my dimmer switch. But nothing to this, just a plug and a couple of bolts. So I'm gonna get you guys in here. We'll get this swapped out right quick, and hopefully, I don't see how it could hurt it any anyway. We got some headlights and taillights and turn signals and flashers and all that stuff. You know, one good thing about it, I don't have to worry about the dimmer switch being in the way of taking these bolts out. We've got this old dimmer switch out, and it actually came out. Well, it's out of there. And we're ready to toss this new one back in. Now, I've kind of taken a wire brush to the floorboard here. That way it'll give us a clean mounting surface. And we've got our new dimmer switch here. You know, the one-piece style, not the modular style dimmer switches. And just kind of for a reference to you guys, if you're ever in this situation here and need to change your dimmer switch out, on a lot of these old Fords, the standard part number is going to be a DS70. So I've got the old screws cleaned up a little bit. I'm going to get this thing tossed back in here. So we've got this dimmer switch installed. I've got the mat laid back where it's supposed to be. Time for a moment of truth here. Let's see. Got park lights. No cab light. Do I have headlights? No headlights. Okay. We got high beams. We don't have low beams. Okay. Or do we? Nothing. We got some headlights. Some headlights. All right, so we've got headlights. We've got bright lights. We don't have dims, but we got bright lights. So that's a win for this evening anyway. Now it's getting fairly late, so I think I'm gonna turn in for the night. I will see you guys bright and early tomorrow morning. Well, it's the next morning, and I'm not fully woke up yet. So I think last night all we managed to get accomplished was to run over a broken mini fridge and get a dimmer switched out. So this morning we've got to get some throttle linkages figured out. We've got to get a kickdown linkage figured out for this C6 transmission, and we've got to get brakes, or at the very least change all the the hydraulic parts on the brakes, because these look, you'll see in a minute, but these look pretty rough. So gonna get these linkages figured out, bring you guys along with me for that, because I'm not 100% sure what I've got to do, but we're gonna get that knocked out, and then we're gonna get some tires and wheels busted off and get to replacing some hydraulics on the brakes. So we recently switched this over to a 4-barrel intake from a factory 2-barrel intake, and in doing that, we lost our little ball stud down here on the side of the carburetor for the throttle linkage, and that is what the factory linkage hooks up to, is this little ball stud right here. So we've got this kit from Edelbrock, just some ball stud adapters, and I'm going to see if we can actually do away with this baling twine for one, but actually mount this stud where the baling twine is fastened here, and then we're going to get this throttle linkage knocked out. next order of business is to get this kickdown rod hooked up, and to be rightfully honest, I am not sure about it, because for one, it's supposed to fasten right here, and it ain't long enough. So I did pick up a couple of parts from Holly. They pick up a couple parts from Holly. I think they're gonna work for us, but I'm not sure how to, install or properly use any of them. So this is gonna be an adventure. Last night was an adventure getting it in here. This is fixing to be an adventure. Now, while this could definitely be done with it on the truck, I can't quite see what I need to do to get the bracketry installed for the kickdown cable. So I'm gonna go ahead and yank the carb, get it up on the workbench here. It's gonna make it much easier on me, just trying to get everything figured out here. We've got our throttle linkage and our kickdown linkage all hooked up, and we're just going to ignore the massive fuel leak that we just developed and move on to brakes. Now, this thing, I'm not 100% sure of the condition of the master, so I went ahead and picked up a new one, and it looks like this is not the original one, and it also looks like this is going to be very fun, because this is pretty well rounded off right here. But anyway, I've got a new one sitting over on the workbench. I'm going to get this one pulled off of here. I'm going to walk you through bench bleeding a master cylinder. Now we pop the lid off of this thing. And it looks not good. So we're just going to put that back on there. And forget we saw it. This line here, that's pretty chewed up. I'll see vice grips in the future, but gotta get these lines popped off, get this thing unbolted, and get this new one mounted. Now I said that we were going to bench bleed this master, but truth be told, I don't have a bench bleeding kit like I thought I did, nor do I have the right fittings to make a bench bleeding kit. So we're going to do the smart thing here and take half a day bleeding the brakes rather than bleeding the master and getting all the air out of it first. I hope I don't need any adapters on the master cylinder for the brake lines to hook up. I don't have any of those either. Alrighty, so new master is in. Time to pop. I'm probably gonna do this front driver's side here first. Time to bust this wheel off of here and get a hose changed out. So seeing as how this truck has sat since 2003, I'd say it's probably a good idea, regardless of whether or not they're leaking, to go ahead and switch out these rubber hoses. Now the hard lines crawling underneath this truck, they look all right. So I'm just gonna start with replacing these rubber hoses and of course the master cylinder that we just got swapped out. And we're gonna see if we can get some kind of brakes that way before we get too involved with it. So I'm gonna hope here that this, vice grip. Ourselves a runner, got ourselves a driver, we got ourselves a stopper. So didn't get a whole lot filmed this afternoon, to be honest with you. I had my wife out here helping me and it's Mother's Day, so I was kind of just enjoying that. But got some brake hoses switched out and these brakes actually bled out really well, so had her help me do that. We ended up, once we got it running, we took a timing light to it, and it was just a few degrees off, not a big deal. But if I could find my vacuum gauge, I'd get vacuum gauge hooked up to it, get this carburetor dialed in a little bit better. And actually, we went from the 600 to 800 double pumper, you know, mechanical choke, mechanical secondaries, all that jazz, just because I had some fuel leaks with the 600, and we couldn't get those lined out, so I said screw it, put the 800 on it. But we're running, and we're running well. So I'm going to end this one off. Words, come on now. I'm going to end this one off here tonight. Not going to be the highest quality video, but finally making some progress. And this thing is going to be quite the little project. It's actually going to be my wife's truck. So I'm going to finish this one off here, guys. I appreciate you watching. I hope you enjoyed that. And if you like what you're watching, please consider subscribing. Sure do appreciate it. Drop a like, leave a comment. Tell me what you think we should do to this thing. So I'm going to finish this one off here tonight, guys. And it's been a really enjoyable last few weekends working on this thing, getting it to this point. So I'm out. Talk to you guys later. I'll see you very soon. Have a good evening.